Hello everyone, my name is Anna Mardal. This is a Let's Play of A Little Lily Princess by Hanako Games. I have not played this before. It is brand spanking new. But my understanding is that it's based on, loosely, on the story A Little Princess, which is obviously the book by Frances Hodgson Burnett and is in the public domain, so we can do whatever we want with it. For disclaimer or disclosure or whatever word I'm looking for here, Hanako did send me a free key code to download this off of Steam because I obviously have Let's Played several of their games now, and they're super sweet and wonderful, and sent me a free copy, which was really great because I wanted something nice and fun to do. So here's what we're doing. So, this is a visual novel. I don't know if it's like a romancy visual novel or an adventure visual novel. I know almost nothing about it, except that it's by Hanako, and I like Hanako, so let's jump into this. Start game. It was spring when Sarah's school life began, but spring in London was nothing like any spring she had known before. And let's see, looks like we've got quick save, load, skip for if you've gone through here before. Auto, I don't know what that does, and preps. The morning sun was not enough to lift the chill from the stony streets, and the mist off the river blended with the smoke of countless chimneys to form a thick yellow fog. In such weather, the gas lamps burned night and day, flickering like stars to guide the horse-drawn ships to their destinations. But the ship that had carried her across the ocean was now a thing of the past. Here, then, was Sarah's new home. It was a big, dull brick house, exactly like all the others in its row, except that on the front door there shone a brass plate which was engraved in black letters, Miss Minchin's Select Seminary for Young Ladies. Hello. Girls, gather around if you please. Come, hurry up. We have a new pupil who will be joining us starting today. Her name is Sarah Crewe, and she has only recently arrived in England, so you must make her all feel welcome. How do you do? Is this us? Are we Sarah? The room filled with a chorus of gently murmured greetings. Sarah Crewe, for that was her name, looked out upon a garden of strangers. Every face was turned to her, polite and attentive and perfectly foreign. She felt more lost than she had ever been at sea. Sarah, dear, as you can see, we have pupils here of all levels, but these three are particularly near your age. This is Miss Lavinia Herbert. Look, she's got like a little rose pearl belt. Charmed. Miss Ermengarde St. John. And Miss Jessie Abbott, who is a redhead. We're very pleased to meet you. I am very pleased to meet you as well. I have never known very many girls near my age, nor any other age. Sarah's life before that point had not been isolated, but sheltered. Her mother had died when she was born, leaving Sarah to be raised by the young, handsome father who was the only relation she had ever known. Some fathers had little time for their children, but Sarah and her papa had always been quite close, reading books and playing games together every day. He treated her as a little confidant, sharing his thoughts with her as if she were his peer and not a very young girl, and listened solemnly to the advice she gave in return, though he didn't always follow it. Sarah had never felt lonely, but it must be said she had very little experience in making new friends. Sarah's father, Captain Crewe, makes his home in India, and he is returning there as we speak. I shall expect you all to be very agreeable to her. Now, Sarah, take your seat. Your father has informed me how much you enjoy your studies, and I expect you to be a credit to this establishment. I am not certain how to become a credit, but I do wish to learn. This statement was met with muffled giggles. Confused, Sarah looked back at Miss Minchin for guidance. Take your seat, I said. But which seat is mine? Concerned she would look disobedient if she hesitated further, she slid into the nearest empty place. No one objected, and she let out a sigh of relief. Nearby, two girls turned to whisper to each other. What a way she has of speaking! So old-fashioned. Hush! And her eyes are such a queer color. A funny-looking child, to be sure. Well, she isn't pretty as other pretty people are, but there is something about her. She makes you want to look at her again, to see what it is. And she has tremendously long eyelashes. Only you would notice such a thing. All right, start the shipping engines. Girls, kindly pay attention to your lessons. Yes, Miss Minchin. Woo! Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Oh, wow, okay. Choose an activity for Sarah to perform each day. Each activity has 3 possible outcomes, which will change the icons you receive. Wow, it just went all, Long Live the Queen and Princess Maker. At the end of the week, Sarah's icons will be collected and turned into resources. I'm going to need a spreadsheet. Okay, book becomes knowledge. Okay, so knowledge is here. Oh, I wish the icons were here, because those are pretty icons. Art becomes artistry. Time becomes patience. Heart becomes sympathy. This angel thing becomes grace. Cross becomes belief, and running becomes vigor. Icons are only converted at the end of the week. Until then, they can be changed or lost by other activities. Plan the order of your activities in order to get the best results for the week. Oh, my inner min-maxer is just going wild. Did I ever tell you guys that I did a playthrough once of Princess Maker? Actually, I think it was Princess Maker 2. And I just min-maxed the crap out of that, but then my computer lost my game file, but it was fun. Okay. I think we got it. Oh, wow. Okay. So, oh, okay. All right, there's thank God, there's hints down there. So this seems to be saying that the read a book activity Oh. Okay, that's nice. So we pick one for Monday. The read a book can either grant us 3 knowledge, or an art and a knowledge, or 1 knowledge. Dance can grant us art and grace, vigor, patience, and grace, or double vigor. Toys can grant faith, sympathy, art, and vigor, or gain art equal to half art. Whew, go for a walk. Wow, this is gonna have a lot of randominess to it, which makes it so much harder to min-max. Which is not a bad thing. I'm just kind of gain. So this is almost like, you remember how in Long Live the Queen we had those like really strict schedules of, okay, we have to learn this much economics by this date. This is going to introduce like a whole random factor to that, and that scares me a lot, to be honest. Gain 3 sympathy, a sympathy art, and a grace or vigor and faith. Okay, we have no context right now for how any of this is gonna play, so Do you maybe go for like a well-rounded approach? Can you do one of... Okay, you can... Oh, no, there's one left out. Gosh, dang it. So there's one thing that you'd have to pick not to do, even if we did all of them. Book, dance, toys. Okay, walking seems kind of not helpful early in the game, because it's like gain equal to vigor, which our vigor right now is 1. So that would get better once our vigor went up. Okay, let's do this. Monday we're going to read a book. Tuesday we're going to practice dance. Wednesday we're going to play with toys. Thursday we're going to write in a diary. And Friday we're going to do a tea party. Why not? Done. Do it. Now the schedule that you have set will be carried out. For each weekday, Sarah will point to the randomly chosen result, and those icons will appear on the right side of the screen. You do not have to click to advance between days. It will happen automatically. You can adjust the speed of the activities from the Preferences menu. Remember, icons are only converted to resources at the end of the week. A result of double all books will double your current book icons, but not your long-term knowledge resources. Oh, okay, so that double all wasn't double what you have over here. It was double what you've got for the week so far. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Reading. Hey, we gained 3! Yes, we did. We're awesome. We double all vigor, but there was no vigor to double. Playing. Writing. Oh, that's not so bad. Okay, I feel like we had a pretty good week. Final week's results. Books converted to +4 knowledge. +4? Oh yeah, 4, okay. 3 converts to +3 artistry. We had +1 vigor, +1 grace, +1 sympathy, and +2 belief. Okay. Go us, I guess. My room. My 2 rooms, just for me. It's a nice room. Yeah, I like that room. Look at all those books. Why is there a baby cradle in the... Is that for like a doll? I assume Miss Minchin doesn't approve of us having babies at school. Maybe she does, I don't know. Sarah was what was known as a parlor boarder, where other girls were quartered in standard issue single rooms. She had a large bedroom, uniquely decorated, and a separate sitting room with a comfortable sofa. So it's been years since I don't even know if I have read A Little Princess. I think maybe I've just seen the Shirley Temple movie. So as I recall, she shows up rich and her father paying for all the nicest things, and then I guess her dad dies or something, and she's impoverished, and so they shove her up into the attic, as I recall. So hopefully they didn't spoil anything for anybody. But at the same time, I didn't want anyone to, like, be too disappointed when we get shoved into the attic. Because I assume that's going to happen. Maybe we won't. Who knows? I would actually be down with a Little Princess reboot where we're never shoved into the attic. Because as I recall, that was really depressing. Okay, this is our nice room. My papa has filled them with beautiful things. Books, velvet cushions, lace dresses, a porcelain tea set, hats with great feathers that bob on them, even a tiger rug to remind me of India. It looks like a room that would belong to the daughter of a Raja, an Indian princess. I only wish that this room also contained my papa. Perhaps it does. He gave me all of these things, and whenever I touch them, I can imagine that he is with me. Oh, whoops, sorry, I hit the... I do love how Hanako has the scroll options for the scroll wheel to go backwards. And when I read his farewell letter, I can hear his voice. My dear little missus, so here you are, in the place you always knew you must go. But be of good cheer, you will not have to stay there for very long. There will be a lot of little girls, and you will play together, and I will send you plenty of books. and you will grow so fast that it will seem scarcely a year before you are big enough and clever enough to come back and take care of Papa. I am not in the least anxious about your education. You are always sitting with your little nose burrowing into books, gobbling them up as if you were a little wolf instead of a little girl. I have instructed Miss Minchin to drag you away from your books when you read too much, and make you go and ride your pony in the Row or buy a new doll. You ought to play more with dolls. Oh, Papa, if I bought a new doll every day, I should have too many to be able to make friends with them all. I am happiest with just Emily, and happier because I was with you when I met her. Emily, of course, was the name of a doll, a very special doll that Sarah had discovered when her papa took her to visit the premier toy shops of London. She was a large doll, but not too large to carry about easily. She had naturally curling golden brown hair, which hung like a mantle about her, and her eyes were a deep, clear gray blue, with soft, thick eyelashes, which were real eyelashes and not mere painted lines. At Sarah's insistence, she had been given a wardrobe every bit as grand as Sarah's own, with frocks and coats and nightgowns, and beautiful lace-trimmed underthings. She even had her own tiny lady's handkerchief and her own cradle bed at the foot of Sarah's. Okay, this doll better be plot relevant, guys. Sarah lived... Oh, wow. That's a doll. Sarah lifted Emily up onto her lap and smiled at her, just as she would another little girl. My papa is on the sea now, Emily. We must be very great friends to each other, intimate friends, and tell each other things. Look at me, Emily. You have the nicest eyes I ever saw, but I wish you could speak. She brushed Emily's hair fondly, setting her in a place of pride. There are so many girls in this school. I have never seen so many children in one place before. I am afraid I shall not even remember all of their names. I have always known that someday I would be required to go away, to leave my home and my papa, and come to England to be educated. I must do my duty, even if I do not like it. I dare say soldiers, even brave ones, don't really like going into battle, but they must do it anyway and not cry and fuss. So must I. But oh, it is so lonely. She could not know, of course, how her quiet sorrow might be misinterpreted by others. Miss Minchin, the proprietor, had seen the lavish preparations for Sarah's pretty little room, and concluded that here was a child who had always been given her own way at the expense of others. Such a spoiled little girl might be expected to kick and scream and set the whole house in an uproar when abandoned by her only parent. That she did not suggested to Miss Minchin that Sarah cared nothing at all for her papa, but only for her dresses and toys. Such was not a thought that inspired sympathy in her heart for the newcomer. Boy, Miss Minchin is really jumping to a lot of conclusions here. Just then there came a sound at the door of Sarah's room. Sarah was not a girl easily given to fear or startlement, but she had a healthy share of curiosity, and went at once to see what it was. Outside sat a little girl right on her bottom in the middle of the hall, her baby plump legs displayed and the lace of her petticoats askew, as if she had just toppled over, which in fact she had. "Hello there, who might you be?" Lottie." Her words were hard to make out through the fingers she had shoved into her mouth. Lottie? The fingers were withdrawn and wiped dry along the frills of her skirt. Lottie Lee. Sarah smiled. Here then was a chance to meet just one person at a time, instead of a crowd of strangers. Well then, I am Sarah Crewe, and now we are properly introduced. She held out a hand and helped the little girl to her feet. Was there something you wanted? May I look at your doll? Of course you may. Come and visit me in my room, and we can have tea together. My papa left me with a beautiful tea set with lilies painted on it. Emily has her own service as well, sized for her hand, because she is too small to hold one of my cups. I want to see. Come inside then, and I will introduce you to Emily. And that was Sarah's first week of classes at Miss Minchin's Select Seminary for Young Girls. Okay, we've got events coming up. 5 belief and 3 grace for week 2. Well, this is nice because we never had advance warning with Long Live the Queen. It was just suddenly there was a test and you failed because you didn't know enough about dogs. So, tentatively approve of this edition. On the weekends, you can spend the resources you have collected in order to unlock scenes with different characters. The requirements for each event will be listed in the box next to that character. If an event requires 5 belief, you must have at least 5 belief on the left-hand side of the screen in order to select Play Event. Playing that event, will lower your current belief by 5. So I did think it was interesting that we were practically half full on knowledge after the first week. So these actually will come back down. Okay. Some scenes will not be available until later in the story. Others can only be played early in the game. Pay attention to the requirements. It is best to focus your attention on only 2 or 3 characters in order to have time to play all of their scenes. That's always true with visual novels, that if you spread your attention out, you get like a crap ending, but still. Okay. So we have the requisites to play an event with Jessie, whatever those may be. And the next event is going to take 5 belief and 3 grace. So let's play the event with Jessie, why not? Hello, Sarah. May I come in to visit? Sarah rose to her feet at once. You are very welcome. Please come inside. Jessie stepped into the room, then held out her skirt to drop a delicate curtsy in greeting. I know we've been introduced, but I wish to make your acquaintance more personally. And without Lavi listening in. Lavinia, I thought that you and she were the best of friends. Of course we are. I adore her. She's so classic, so elegant and focused. I admire her very much. However, sometimes it is nicer to do things for oneself. Are those real silk stockings you're wearing? Sarah blinked, caught unawares by this change of topic. Yes, I have several pairs. My papa took me to many shops while he was in London. They're darling. Mine are only Liesel cotton. May I see the pattern? Sarah sat down in her comfortable armchair, lifting the hem of her skirt slightly so that the floral embroidery over her ankle was visible. What little feet you have! I never saw such little feet. Are they small? She raised her leg a bit, pointing her toes and moving her foot this way and that. They seem the same size as they have always been, even though I know they must have been smaller when I was younger. I am sure that Lottie's feet are smaller than mine, and Emily's, of course, are the smallest. Emily? Emily is the doll that my papa bought to be my companion. Sarah stood up and lifted Emily into her arms for Jessie to admire. Emily, this is Jessie Abbott, my new friend. The older girl dropped a beautiful curtsy, then laughed. Oh, she has silk stockings too. Stockings for such teeny tiny feet. How cute. But you do have small feet for your height, Sarah. I'm sure you do. Look at mine. Jessie pressed her foot up alongside Sarah's for comparison. I just don't know whether larger or smaller feet are better. For dancing, I mean. If you dance with a partner, small feet would be better to avoid being stepped on, and it look very stylish in slippers. Slippers are cuter if they're smaller. But large feet might be better for holding positions and standing on your toes. Small feet may not be as strong. Your feet have a good shape, though. They arch well. They're very pretty. Does Jessie have a foot fetish? Can feet be pretty? Colonel Grange's little daughter, Isabel in India, was the prettiest girl I ever knew. All the gentlemen said she was the beauty of the regiment. She has dimples and round rose-colored cheeks, pale blue eyes, and long curling hair the color of gold, and everyone said those things were very pretty. No one ever spoke of her feet. I suppose, if feet can be pretty, then perhaps I do have pretty feet. I know the rest of me is not. My hair is too black and straight and short. I am too thin, and my eyes are a strange color. You do not have the same kind of beauty that dolls are made of, but that doesn't mean you aren't pretty. I think you're quite interesting to look at. Sarah did not wish to contradict her new friend, who had no reason to lie, but her inner conviction that she was an ugly little girl could not be so easily dispelled. "Will you show me the rest of your dolls and clothes? Do all of your petticoats have so many lace frills? Do you think any of them would fit me?" "I don't know. I suppose we can find out." So, I don't know if we just made a friend or if we just made a... I don't know. On Sunday morning, the students gathered in the entrance hall of Miss Minchin's Select Seminary. "Girls, are you ready? Form up into a line behind Lavinia." "Sarah, dear, it is our custom to walk to and from church every Sunday, when the weather permits. That allows the horses a day of rest and ensures that the students receive regular exercise. It is important to look our best when walking out among the public. We want our school to always leave a good impression. You should follow Lavinia's cues. She will show you what to do. Lavinia is always a model student." As if hearing her name, Lavinia smiled and tilted her head. "You could learn a great deal from You could learn a great deal from Lavinia, dear. And as her father is also posted to India, the two of you should have much in common. I'm sure you will make close friends. Now go and stand in line behind her." Sarah made her way to the front of the line, where Jessie and Lavinia stood close together. "What are you doing? Go to the back." "Miss Minchin told me to stand behind you. She said you were a model." "Oh, very well then." "But that's my place." "You wouldn't want to disobey Miss Minchin, would you?" "No. We have to show our new girl how to behave herself in church. She may never have seen one before." Sarah thought it wisest to remain silent. Okay, so we need faith and grace. Faith comes from toys, diaries, and maybe tea parties. So it says toy, diary, tea party. But what if none of those give us faith? We'll do one more diary and one more toys? What was the other thing we needed was grace. Which one's grace? Grace. I wish, like I said, I wish the icon was just there. I bet she'll update it to do that. We might get grace from the tea party. Or, sorry, the, yeah, tea party. We needed 5 belief? Is that right? 1. I should have written it down and I didn't. That was foolish of me. That should be enough, right? Oh wait, there's a save. I should probably do that. Save. I will call this, week 2. Return. Okay, guys. Here we go. We gained vigor playing. Ugh. We gained, I think that's all the belief we needed. We gained sympathy. We gained more sympathy. We were the most sympathetic. We didn't get any grace. Gosh dang it. Okay, we got 1 knowledge, 1 artistry, vigor, 7 sympathy, which is more than we can hold. It caps out at 10, and 5 belief. Okay. Maybe could have done that better, but I'm not gonna save scum on this one. A knock came at the door. Sarah dear. Yes, is there? Oh, hello. Bonjour, mademoiselle. Miss Minchin hissed through her teeth, and the young woman in the maid's uniform fell silent. Oh, Miss Minchin, why are you evil? I wanted to like you. Sarah, before he left, your father arranged for a maid to be employed especially for your needs. She has just arrived. I believe she is from France. Yes. Her name is Mariette, and she will be living in your rooms. helping with your clothing in the morning, and anything else you require. Please use her as your liaison with the staff. If you have need of food, send your maid rather than speaking to cook directly. And don't let her fool you. She does speak the Queen's tongue. She swept out of the room, leaving the maid and her new little mistress blinking at each other in confusion. Bonjour, Mariette. Je m'appelle Sarah. Comment allez-vous? Très bien, merci. And I am pleased to see that you are just as your papa described you. Oh, what did he say? That no other little girl is as solemn as you, and that you would make me smile. But why would being solemn make someone smile? Ah, it is your je ne sais quoi. It is you. Now, why don't you show me around your rooms? Oh, okay, so that was... alright. So... oh... we have to pick. We have to pick. I don't like picking. Hold on, I need a pen. So, the next event with Jessie will require 3 knowledge, 3 patience, 3 sympathy, and 3 belief. The next event with Lavinia, which is... I thought it previously had said next week, but no, I guess it's just as they become available. Requires 3 grace. I had been working towards Lottie, but I hate to miss Mariette. You know what? Screw it. This is our first playthrough. We can't do it wrong, right? So we're going to go with Lottie. Sarah was seated comfortably in the classroom, gazing at the window and thinking. It's not that the seat itself was so comfortable. The long-form benches of the schoolroom were chosen for function and ease of use, not for gently cushioning the tender bottoms of schoolgirls. Sarah's own cozy little parlor contained far more comfortable places to sit than the classroom or even the dining room at Miss Minchin's. However, sometimes a change of scenery was more conducive to clear thinking. There was something interesting about being in a classroom when all the other students had gone. Is it still a classroom if there is no class inside it? And yet it was not long before someone else did enter that room. Someone who stood at the corner of Sarah's vision, unwilling to speak and interrupt, but nearly bouncing on her toes from excitement. Lottie? After looking outside and letting her mind wander for so long, Sarah's eyes seemed to view everything in the wrong colors, and Lottie's round face was overlaid with pinks and greens. She blinked a few times to clear her vision. Lottie clapped her hands together, taking this as permission to speak. May we go and see the doll, Emily, now, and have tea? All right. Sarah led the way upstairs, motioning Lottie behind her to stay quiet. We must be careful not to disturb her. Disturb who? If we're very lucky, you might see. The door to Sarah's room stood in front of them. Sarah placed a finger over her own lips and then to Lottie's. Only after Lottie nodded did she reach the door. Then Sarah suddenly turned the handle and threw it wide open. Its opening revealed the room quite neat and quiet, a fire gently burning in the grate, and a wonderful doll sitting in a chair by it, apparently reading a book. Oh, she got back to her seat before we could see her. Of course, they always do. They are quick as lightning. Lottie looked from Sarah to the doll and back again. Can she walk? Yes, at least I believe she can. I believe dolls can do things they will not let us know about. Perhaps really Emily can read and talk and walk, but she will only do it when people are out of the room. That is her secret. You see, if people knew that dolls could do things, they would make them work. So perhaps they have promised each other to keep it a secret. If you stay in the room, Emily will just sit there and stare. But if you go out, she will begin to read, perhaps, or go and look out of the window. Then if she heard either of us coming, she would just run back and jump into her chair and pretend she had been there all the time. Lottie's eyes were magnified enormously as she took in this bewitching new concept. It was a delightful thought. However, Lottie was one of the youngest students at Miss Minchin's seminary, and as such, had experience in being told things by older girls that might not be entirely true. Sarah, Does she really walk? Do you truly believe it? I pretend that I believe she can, and that makes it seem as if it were true. So it's not true. When you suppose things, when you pretend them with great vigor, that makes them almost real. If you imagine for yourself that there are fairies in the London sky, if you stare up into the sky thinking about fairies and looking very hard for them, you might almost catch a glimpse of one. And you're not sure what you saw. Was it real or wasn't it? Were you pretending? Was it a dream or a vision? Did you actually see anything at all? You know that you are pretending, so it is not so terrible if you didn't see anything. But maybe, just maybe, you were right all along. Sometimes stories do come true. Do you understand? I think so. Would you like to hold Emily? Oh, may I? May I really? She is beautiful. And Emily was put into her arms. Lottie smiled down at the doll, cradling her gently and fingering her fair curls. They must move very fast to get out of sight when we come in, mustn't they? I wonder if we could learn to move like lightning. Oh, we couldn't do it. You see, it's a kind of magic. Maybe people can have magic too. That is nice to pretend. But whether we can have magic or not, we can certainly have tea. Okay, that was sweet. It was the beginning of another week of classes, and the students were neatly seated in rows in the schoolroom. Miss Minchin walked up and down between the desks, ensuring that each pupil's head was bowed to her particular lessons. She paused beside Sarah, a book in her hand. Now, Sarah, as your papa has engaged a French maid for you, I conclude that he wishes you to make a special study of the French language. I think he engaged her because he thought I would like her, Miss Minchin. I am afraid that you may have been something of a spoiled little girl, and as such you always imagine that things are done because you like them. It is a fault in you, and one we must endeavor to train away. My impression, Sarah, is that your papa wished for you to learn French. I have never really learned to speak French, but that is quite enough. You have never learned, and so you must begin at once. The French master, Monsieur Dufarge, will be here in a few minutes. Take this book and look at it until he arrives. Dutifully, Sarah stared at the illustrated pages in front of her. Le père, the father, la mère, the mother. You look rather cross, Sarah. I am sorry you do not like the idea of learning French. I am very fond of it, but... You must not say but when you are told to do things. Giggles. Miss Abbott, young ladies should not make dreadful snickering noises like a horse. Yes, Miss Minchin. Sarah, look at your book again. Yes, Miss Minchin. Les fils, the son, les frères, the brother. Oh dear. Shortly after, Monsieur Dufarge arrived in the classroom. The French master was an elderly gentleman with a neatly trimmed mustache and beard, and hair that flew outwards in dramatic points. His eyes lit up when he caught sight of an unfamiliar little girl puzzling over a book of French phrases. Ah, is this a new pupil for me, madame? Her papa, Captain Crewe, is very anxious that she should begin the language, but I'm afraid she has a childish prejudice against it. She does not seem to wish to learn. I'm very sorry to hear that, mademoiselle. Perhaps when we begin to study together, I may show you that it is a charming tongue. Little Sarah rose in her seat. She was beginning to feel rather desperate. S'il vous plaît, monsieur, je n'ai pas le faire comprendre. You guys are going to have to excuse my terrible pronunciation of literally everything. She began to explain quite simply in pretty and fluent French. Madame had not understood. She had not learned French exactly, not out of books, but her papa and other people had always spoken it to her, and she had read and written it as she had read and written English. Her papa loved it, and she loved it because he did. Her dear mamma, who had died when she was born, had been French. What on earth? What is she saying? Is this some form of joke? Ah, madame, there is not much I can teach her. She has not learned French. She is French. Her accent is exquisite. You ought to have told me. I tried. I suppose I did not begin right. Miss Minchin slammed her hand upon her desk. Silence, young ladies. Silence at once. And though the other students soon settled back into proper schoolroom behavior, Miss Minchin's lips remained tightly pressed together whenever she looked at Sarah. Oh dear, we have made an enemy. So, okay. If we want Jessie's event, we need 3 more patience. If we want Lavinia's event, we need 3 grace. And then, of course, our maid, Mariette, we could speak with immediately. I'm torn, because it did tell us to try to focus on one person. But on the other hand, for the first playthrough, I'd like to show everybody as much as we can see. Let's take some grace, if we can. Although, dance should really be at the end of the week, because it's got one of those double all vigors. So we'll take some grace. Let's take some vigor, if we can. Let's take some more grace or vigor. Where's patience? Which one is patience again? Time. Time is patience. That's diary. And that's also diary. Trying. So we got vigor. We got belief and sympathy, which I really wanted patience. We got more belief and sympathy, which I really wanted patience. We got grace. And we got double all vigor, which is another. Okay, so that was not what I wanted at all in terms of patience. So we won't be getting Jessie's. Oops. I thought we'd have an event. If the French language fell naturally from Sarah's lips, there were other lips from which it seemed it could not escape at all, no matter how long the owner stared at her workbook. Le père, the father, la mère, the mother. To Ermengarde, it had seemed almost unbelievable that a girl of her own age could string together so many words of French as if they were mere trifles. Dismayed at her own failings, she was devoting more effort than usual to the trial of understanding her lessons. Her elbows rested on the desk, her hands under her chin, and she repeated the broken syllables under her breath. She stared so hard and bit the ribbon on her pigtail so fast that she attracted the attention of Miss Minchin, who, feeling extremely cross at the moment, immediately pounced upon her. Miss St. John, what is the meaning of such conduct? What? Remove your elbows. Take your ribbon out of your mouth. Sit up at once. Yes, Miss Minchin. Matters did not improve for Miss St. John when the French master himself arrived. Good red, le bon pang? Kindly though he was, Monsieur Defarge could not help but smile at her pronunciation. That is not quite correct. Écoutez bien, le bon pain. Le bon bang? I feel for you, Ermengarde, I do. Girls, conduct yourselves. It isn't funny, really. They ought not to laugh. Poor thing. It was a way of hers, always to want to spring into any fray in which someone was made uncomfortable or unhappy. However, there was no way for any hero to defend or rescue Ermengarde from the horrors of education, at least not until the lesson period had concluded. Oh, oh. I mean, we were building up for Lavinia, but Ermengarde. We're going Ermengarde. Having made up her mind to befriend the unfortunate Ermengarde, Sarah first had to seek her out. Someone like Lavinia could be easily tracked from a distance by the sharp sound of her voice or the drumming heels of little girls stampeding away from her presence. Ermengarde, however, kept largely to herself and did not make a great deal of noise. Sarah found her at last, bundled rather disconsolately in a window seat. Forthright and fearless, Sarah walked over to offer a friendly greeting. "Hello, what is your name?" Her name, of course, was already known. They had been introduced, however briefly, upon Sarah's arrival at the school. This was, however, the traditional thing that little girls always said to each other by way of beginning an acquaintance. The etiquette of children has its own observances. My name's Ermengarde St. John." "Mine is Sarah Crew. Yours is very pretty. It sounds like a storybook." Do you like it?" To understand why she fluttered so nervously, one must recall that a new pupil at school is, for a short time, a very uncertain thing. Cliques and friendships in a small environment can become very firmly set indeed, and leave no room for the excluded, no matter how many years might pass. To the friendless, then, a new student brings with her a breath of hope. Here is someone who is not yet claimed. Perhaps she will like me? And yet, as she is unknown, friendship may not be a possibility. A new girl could equally be snobbish, or foolish, or mean-spirited. The hope is always adulterated with fear. This pupil was even more noteworthy than most, for rumors about her had filled the school even before her arrival. She had her own carriage and her own maid. Her rooms were like no one else's. Her wardrobe was exquisite, and she had the adventure of a voyage from India to discuss. It is no wonder that Ermengarde was somewhat tongue-tied upon being addressed. "I like yours. Your name." She bit her lip in chagrin at her own stumbling. Sarah held out her hand, not as a grand lady might for a gentleman to touch it, but as if greeting someone who was already a friend. After a moment's hesitation, Ermengarde took it. "I'm very pleased to meet you." "Me too." "Oh, you should meet Emily as well." "Who is Emily?" "Come up to my room, and you shall see." All right." They jumped down from the window seat together and went upstairs. Is it true that you have a whole playroom all to yourself?" The ordinary pupils at Miss Minchin's select seminary had only small bedrooms of their own, enough space to sleep and dress and read if they were inclined, but for most activities they must venture out. "Yes, Papa asked Miss Minchin to let me have one." She opened the door and beckoned Ermengarde inside. "See, there is the sitting room through that door." "Oh, it's beautiful." Sometimes when I am playing, I make up stories about the things that I'm doing and tell them to myself, and I don't like people to hear me. It spoils it if I think people might listen. Does that sound too selfish of me? I do tell stories for others as well. It is only that some stories, particularly new ones that I am only just making up, are private. They are too delicate to be shared. Ermengarde had paused, her eyes wide. "You make them up? How can you do that?" "Why, anyone can make up things. Have you never tried?" "But where do the stories come from?" "Inside my head. Don't you ever imagine things that might happen that haven't? You have dreams when you sleep, at least." Ermengarde shook her head, her braids wobbling. "I try not to think about things like that. They are too confusing. I try to think only about what I am supposed to be learning at school." "I try very hard, but it doesn't seem to help." Sarah found the concept of a girl with no imagination at all too difficult to grasp. "Surely you must read storybooks about things that aren't real." "Oh no, I hate to read." Seeing that this response disappointed Sarah, she fished for a better explanation. "I don't read well. I can't concentrate. The words run together. and it's so hard to remember anything that I read in a book. I am meant to read a great many books from Miss Minchin's classes, but I get them all mixed up. When we read poems after history, I thought that Christabel was the daughter of the King of Spain. I don't want to read anything more than I absolutely must. I'll only make a muddle of it. Oh, she has some kind of learning block, and my heart goes out. If I tried to make up a story, then how would I remember what was real and what wasn't? But it's good that you can. What if you read stories about fairies or dragons? Surely you wouldn't get those confused with things at school. But I might. You are very like a fairy, and you are here at school. Oh! I'm sorry. I'm very dull and slow. Everyone says so. I understand if you do not wish to spend any more time with me. Sarah patted Ermengarde on the shoulder in a companionable fashion. Everyone is different. I am only sorry that it means I cannot share my favorite books with you. I have so many favorites that I love, and I wish you could love them too. Oh, I have an idea. Perhaps if I read them to you, then you would not get them confused with other books? I don't know. Hesitantly, she smiled. But I could try. Good. Oh my God, you guys! Did you see that darling little blue and yellow bird on the way back from church? It was only a blue tit. They're hopelessly common. I hadn't seen one before. They're country birds. They like trees. You don't see them so much in London. There must be many more birds in the country. Are there any birds in England that are blue all over? I don't think so. Are there bluebirds in India? Well, there are some birds with bright blue feathers, but not all over. And some birds that are blue all over, but only a bit blue. I thought that perhaps in England I might find the bluebird of happiness. What is that? I shall tell you. All of you, come up to my room and we shall have tea delivered. You shouldn't give orders to cook. It's not proper for a young lady to go into the kitchens. Oh, I won't go. My maid, Mariette, will fetch the tea for us. You have your own personal maid to bring you tea? Yes, my father arranged for her to come from France. Come and say hello. Sarah and her entourage were greeted at the door. Oh my, so many visitors. If it's all right, would you please bring tea for my guests, Mariette? Oui, mademoiselle. Mariette went at once to the kitchens to carry out her little mistress's orders. The head cook of Miss Minchin's Select Seminary looked up at Mariette's approach, her face as pinched as her dough. Here now, what's this then? Afternoon tea for 4. Oh, is that all? I expect she'll be wanting fresh cakes, too. Never mind that we haven't any made. Oh, no, there are biscuits already. Never seen that stop one of those girls from wanting more, quick as you please. It is perhaps so with some, but not with my mistress. I'm gonna try. Elle a l'air d'une princesse, c'est petit. She thanks me for my work, just as if she were thanking a grand lady. Giving herself airs, you mean? As you wish it. Still, I am very pleased with my place. Now, the tea? Okay, let me think. We talked to Jessie, we talked to Lottie, we talked to Ermengarde. I really did want to talk to Lavinia. We're really low on patience. What gives patience? Dance, walk, and diary gives patience. Dance, walk, diary, dance, walk. Alright, go for it. Yes, some patience. Good. And some grace. Patience. Good. Good. It's like they knew. It's, more sympathy. Fine. Patience, patience, patience. Ah, okay, grace. Grace we could use. Patience. Give us patience. Give us patience. Gosh darn it. So we didn't get much patience at all. We did get 5 grace. Very nice, very nice. Right this way, dear Sarah. Lady Pitkin will be absolutely charmed to meet you. Yes, Miss Minchin. Where is she taking Sarah? Miss Minchin is showing her off to another visiting parent. Or maybe a donor. I'm sure I wouldn't know. Dear Sarah must come into the drawing room and talk to Miss Musgrave about India. Dear Sarah must speak French to Lady Pitkin. Her accent is so perfect. She didn't learn her French at this seminary, that's for certain. And there's nothing so clever in her knowing it. She says herself she didn't learn it at all. She just picked it up because she always heard her papa speak it. It's simply disgusting, the way Miss Minchin trots her out like an ornament. I can't imagine being so good at anything that Miss Minchin should want to show me off, especially French. Sarah is always imagining. She will no doubt grow up to be eccentric. There is one thing about her, though. She's never grand about herself, the least bit, even though she easily might be. I believe I couldn't help being proud, just a little, if I had so many fine things it was made such a fuss over. A little? If Miss Minchin brought you in to curtsy for a mayor's wife, you would purr, just like Tybalt. Oh, Laffy, don't be silly. Being a cat might be even nicer than being able to speak French. And every bit as likely for you. Ouch! There's no use in waiting here for Sarah. She'll be at tea for hours, I'm sure. We may as well go on our way. Okay, we're going to talk to Lavinia because I said we'd do everybody. Sarah knocked upon the door. It is Sarah Crewe. May I come in? You may enter. Miss Minchin's model student was, this day, holding court in her rooms. It was a rather small court, consisting as it did of only one loyal follower, Jessie Abbott. But Lavinia's posture suggested no doubts about her right to rule. Hello, Lavinia. May I? I beg your pardon? Your pardon? That is not begging. Jessie tittered behind her hand. I'm sorry, I don't understand. No, it is evident that there are a great many things you do not understand. That is only to be expected, seeing as you have been raised in the savage outlands. However, here in England, we observe manners. Sarah was perplexed. It was not her desire to be unmannerly, but she could not immediately perceive what breach she had committed. You are too forward, Miss Crewe. I have not invited you to use my Christian name. We have already been introduced. Knowing one's name is not sufficient reason to use it. A friend would call me Lavinia. You and I are not yet such friends. Oh, Lavy, she is very young. Children use names freely. It was clear to Sarah that Jessie intended to demonstrate her own superior rank of friendship, not merely Lavinia, but a pet name. How funny that it should be called a pet name, when it is Jessie who acts more as the pet to Lavinia. This is a school for young ladies. Even if she is young enough to be excused, she ought to practice. She will need all the polish that she can get. After all, Miss Minchin has set me to be her model. It is my responsibility to correct her mistakes. It is a silly game, these manners, but I do enjoy games. She curtsied then, if only slightly. I pray you will forgive me, Miss Herbert. I was too familiar. Lavinia waved a hand. You are forgiven, of course. Now what did you wish to speak with me about? Miss Minchin said that your father was stationed in India. I was curious where you had lived, whether we might have seen the same. And now Lavinia held up her hand again. I have no interest in discussing anything whatsoever to do with India. It is not a proper topic for polite conversation. Sarah frowned. From the odd look on Jessie's face, she too seemed to find this answer disappointing. Please understand, Miss Crewe, we are here in London, under the shield of Her Majesty, the Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, Defender of the Faith, Empress of India. Everything that matters in the world takes place within these miles. Trade within the city, government in Parliament, and society within the palace. India is a distant hinterland, filthy and rife with the disease. It is a jungle out there. Yes, there is a jungle, but they are not any more filthy than London is. Nothing could be more filthy than London. A proper lady expresses interest in India only to imagine the thrill of being made to briefly visit such a wild and terrible terrain. You should be very glad that you have escaped it. Thrills are exciting. Hush! Lavinia rubbed one hand over the other, as if brushing away dirt. I hope I have made myself clear. We will not be discussing India here. However, I will be very pleased to aid you in learning the ways of English, Miss Crewe. I am certain that is what Miss Minchin had in mind when she directed you to me. That is very kind of you. Not at all. It is my duty, and every good English man or woman is keen to do his or her duty. Like my papa, the soldier. Yes, if you must. I still don't understand why she refuses to speak about India. Wasn't she born there? She must know how lovely it can be. Oh, okay, so that was sad. There's something sad going on. Ugh, yay, more Miss Minchin. Stay together now, girls. Keep in line and don't step in any puddles. Just because church is over is no excuse to soil your nice dresses. The air smells very different when it has rained. It still smells like London. There are too many people and chimneys and horses. I keep lavender sachets in my room so that I can smell the gardens even when I'm away from home. They're not much. My Aunt Eliza sent me the flowers. I stitched them myself. We have lavender in India too. Oh, but isn't lavender an English flower? I thought everything in India would be saffron and spices. Perhaps the British soldiers brought lavender with them so that they could smell the gardens too. Do you think that soldiers could be homesick? Of course. Soldiers must be very brave and bear all sorts of dangers and hardships, but that doesn't mean they don't have feelings. And we must be brave too, even when we are far from the homes and the people that we love. A carriage passed alongside Miss Minchin's students as they walked, seemingly packed to the walls with children. 8 of them, siblings all, and such a giggling mass of blonde curls and rosy cheeks as Sarah had never seen before. Their merriment was infectious, and Sarah found a smile had come unexpectedly to her face. As such, it came as a slight shock when the carriage moved along and revealed a sight previously hidden on the other side of the street. A little beggar child in a heap of rags, too dirty for Sarah to tell if it was a boy or girl. Pricked by the sight, Sarah stepped out of line and carried her coin purse to the child. Sarah, wait! Where are you going? Here is a 6pence. Go and buy yourself something warm. She hurried back into formation, but not before her steps were noticed by Miss Minchin. Sarah Crewe, you must stay in line. If you go rushing off, you will put yourself at risk. I should not like to tell your father that you were struck down by a cab horse on the road. I only wish to... Generosity is a virtue, but it is not wise or safe to come in close contact with creatures of the streets. You must be careful to clean yourself thoroughly when we return to the school. Yes, Miss Minchin. Sarah looked back, but the beggar child had already disappeared from sight. How strange that one child should be hungry and dirty on the streets, while another rides in a fine carriage and knows nothing but joy and laughter. All these things happen quite by accident, because of the way that we are born. Oh. Does anyone know what week we're on? I honestly don't. I think it's 5? Ooh, I got it right. Week 5. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the video here because it's been about an hour, and also I'm a little terrified that maybe stuff didn't record correctly because I always worry about that. I have absolutely no idea what's going on or what to do. I mean, obviously it's a visual novel, which we like. It's got these stats, which we like, And I know I'm completely screwing myself over by visiting everyone, because A, not only did it tell us not to do that, but that's actually pretty standard visual novel stuff, that if you want the good ending with someone, you see all their events, you don't spread yourself around. So we're doing this wrong. I just don't know what kind of bad ending we're gonna get. Like, are we gonna die, like in Long Live the Queen, or like what's gonna happen? My intention is to go ahead and finish out this playthrough, and get our bad ending for having spread ourselves around too much and seen too many people. But what I don't know is, like, how long it is. Is it a 10-week game? Is it a 20-week game? Is it a 40-week game? I don't know. But I do know, like I said, that this has been about an hour long of a video, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut off here and upload it. Once again, this is A Little Lily Princess by Hanako Games. It's based on A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett, so if you're just loving this and can't get enough, I'm sure it's probably free on Amazon or Project Gutenberg. It's a public domain book. I'm pretty sure there was a Shirley Temple movie by the same name, although I don't quite know how accurate it was to the book, because it's been years since I've seen it. This is available on Steam. It is also available on the Hanako Games website, to buy direct for Windows, Macintosh, or Linux, if you want to play or just get through faster, because I go so slow. And once again, my name is Anna Mardal. I really appreciate you guys watching my Let's Plays. It means a lot to me, it does, and all y'all's nice comments. So I will see you in the next video, and you will probably be subjected to more terrible French pronunciation. I do try. I'm actually trying to learn French in my spare time, but I have very little of that. But anyway, yes, I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.